hopes is that in sharing this, that someone else will see their way through their health journey and will also see the faith steps that were given to me by God, the encouragement that I had through my spouse, and also in encouraging myself. And the people that God had surrounded me around also were very instrumental throughout this time. So there was my church family, there were people, just in business dealings. And so I recall a time too, there were even people when I would go to the grocery store, and if I was able to even stand, that would just walk up to me and say, God healed me, and I was just like you, and I had to juice. Or someone in church that would say, I had to juice. Or I remember one Sunday walking in to service, and I was very, very frail and very, very thin. And so many people I felt were coming towards me. It was almost like being swarmed, and they were so encouraging, and I was overwhelmed by the encouragement that I just was not expecting. I'm never really looking for anything from anyone. And so to be poured into like that brought me to tears. And I'm sure any outsider looking on may have thought, oh my goodness, they're giving her so much sympathy. But it wasn't sympathy at all. It was encouragement. And it moved me because the person that I am, and that some of you who've known me for many years know that I myself like to encourage others in things. And so to have that poured back, it was just so refreshing, because the word promises that's what happened. Those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed. And it just became so real to me in that moment. So thank you to all of you that's poured into me, that has helped me through the years, that have prayed me through, that have been there for me through, challenging times, be it in the health time or in the past. The other video I've mentioned where I went through a divorce many years ago, and God's just always had the right people there surrounding me. And it's only been a handful, and really I've never needed more than what God gave me. And so I'm so grateful and appreciative of those persons. So outside of that brief introduction, then let me jump into what I, went through in that journey. So, hello, God's good people. Welcome back. Today, if you are watching these in order, then you've already seen the healing journey that I went through. And I mentioned talking about our son, how we got to the point of my son and having therapy while pregnant. So I recall that with that, my system had completely shut down. Pretty much it totally shut down. I stopped having cycles, and you need that in order to know when you're pregnant, or to become pregnant. You have cycles. And so I had lost so much weight, and my body was shutting down, that I didn't have cycles. And I remember one time when I was in the hospital, then our church would have one of the pastors to come visit us. And I remember Dr. Laura coming to visit on behalf of the family, and our pastors, our leaders, and praying with me. And I remember also Pastor Rob coming, and he was sent by Pastor Tina, because no one could come visit. I was, in quarantine at that time, and they also wouldn't allow me down to the chapel. And I remember Pastor Tina texted me saying, which room are you in and where are you at? And I told her, and the next thing I knew, chapel was supposed to be at 12 noon, and she didn't know this. I think it was 12 noon, and Pastor Rob showed up. And guess what? It was around 12 noon. I was so excited. I said, Lord, you brought prayer to me. And so he came in to pray. And one of the things that he spoke on and prayed, he prayed for every organ in my body to line up. And he also prayed for my female organs to line up, as well as saying, speaking. And if they want children, we thank you, Lord, they shall have children. That's what they will have. They will have a child. And my faith connected with that because I believe God. Anything is possible, regardless. And so, fast forward, and God had me, at that time, laying hands on my womb, speaking life to my womb. And so I was doing that. I was obeying God. I was speaking life to it. I was speaking what God put in my spirit to say concerning my womb and how strong it was to be able to carry, children to full term in Jesus' name. And I spoke to every organ in my body. And that was important to me because I knew that that prayer worked because God had used me in the past to pray for others and they had children. And I recall that. I remember one lady, I worked in retail, and I remember seeing her outside of the work environment, and she invited me over to her home for dinner. Her husband, myself, and another couple, and their family. And so while eating, God is going to come out. Whatever you're filled with is going to bubble over, right? And so my conversation was God. And she said, you know what? She was Asian, beautiful woman of God. Well, I say woman of God, but I know she believed and had faith in God. And she said, you're going to pray for me to have my baby girl. She had 2 boys at that time. She said, you're going to pray for me and I'm going to have my baby girl. I said, okay. So we ended and after dinner, and I prayed for her. And we lost contact because, I moved and all was going through what I was going through. And we saw each other cross paths again because we lived in the same community area still, even though I moved, didn't leave out the community. And I came across her path again. And she had before that, then she actually texted me and told me, guess what? I'm expecting. And it was a girl that she was expecting. And then years later, we crossed each other's path and I saw her with the baby girl. I said, this is the girl, huh? She said, yes, this is the baby girl. So, and that wasn't the only time. And it's so awesome because God has used others to do the same thing. I mean, he says you shall lay hands on the sick and they shall recover. So if your womb is sick, you can lay hands on your womb and it shall recover, as well as, put your faith in agreement with others and their bodies will recover too, because it's according to their faith. It's not that I'm the healer. It's not that I can do something so great. It was her faith. She said, you are going to pray for me and God's going to give me. God is going to give me my baby girl. That's what she said. She said I was going to pray for her and God would give her her baby girl. And that's what happened. It was according to her faith. So I was like, okay, great. And God blessed her with that. And so I was praying for myself and speaking over my womb and laying hands on my womb, which was awesome. And because that's what God had me doing. And not long after that, we found out we were expecting. And it was awesome because I had missed my cycle and taken the test. And so I counted back and I'm like, I'm brand new pregnant. I'm about 5 weeks pregnant right now. And of course, we went to the doctor that I had mentioned some time back who sent me to the ER. And she confirmed, yeah, you are expecting. Okay, so here's what you need, blah, blah, blah. And she gave me all the information I needed to do and get on your prenatals and all that good stuff. And so we were sitting at the table, breakfast table, Derek and I. And about 5 weeks, you don't know what you're having. And he says, we were thinking about names. What if it's a girl? What if it's a boy? And Derek said, well, how about we just ask God for a name? And I said, yeah. So we prayed right there at the breakfast table and asked God for the name. And Derek went to get ready for work after breakfast. And while he was getting ready in the back room, he shouts out, he says, God just told me, Simeon. That's the name, Simeon. And he said, and I went to go look it up, and it means God has heard, or one who hears God. And I said, what? I said, that means this is a boy. So from that moment on, when God named him, I started speaking to him in the womb, Simeon, and singing songs to him that came just from the Spirit of the Lord. And I would sing songs to him, which he recalls today, and I still sing today to him. And we would speak to Simeon and call him what God called him by name, and knew it was a boy. And so when the time came for them to ask, well, do you want to know what you're having? Because now they're able to see what we're having. We said, well, we already know it's a boy. How you know that? And we shared the story, but we wouldn't tell the name to everybody because we wanted it to be very special. And so we had our boy. But that journey, seems like the enemy kind of wanted to put fear there as though it would end. It was, we had a Saturday night service at our church, and they had just, acknowledged that, oh, you guys are having a baby and congratulations. And our pastor V, had announced it. And when I went home later that night, I began bleeding. I called Patience and I said, do you know anything about this? She was like, I don't know about that. What color is it? And I told her the color that this blood was. It was an unusual, very unusual color. It was purple. And I had a follow-up visit to the surgeon who installed the pen tubes, and was checking on them to see if they were to be taken out. And I was still, going through physical therapy, still had the pen tubes while pregnant and all. And his nurse came in. The Lord told me to share with her what I had experienced that night before. And she said, no, I don't know what that is, but we do have a nurse who used to work in the, was it the ER, I believe, with the OB-GYN doctor, or she worked in that office with the OB-GYN doctor, and I'm gonna ask her. She came back in. I was so glad I obeyed God. She came back in with an answer. She said, don't be afraid of that. She said, it's just old blood passing through. I was like, okay, well, praise God. Thank you, Lord. And when we went to get checked by the gynecologist during the ER visit when the blood had happened, then they checked, and Simeon was just jumping around, bouncing around. And if any of you know him, he's always just dancing, moving, bouncing, jumping around, right, Mr. Baseball? Him just dancing, jumping. And then shortly thereafter, when they went to check again, he was asleep, which is about right, even today at 7 years old. And so with the therapy, I'm going through that. When I was expecting him, then, I got through that, the blood part, and the old blood passing, and, went through that for some months, okay, up until about maybe, 5 or so months, maybe, I guess. And in that time, I had been taking, injections in the belly, my new gastroenterologist recommended it, and it was good, and it was healthy, it was working, but I still didn't like that one side effect. And Ms. Janice told me, listen, no matter what medication you take, there will always be a list of side effects that you have. And so with this one, the side effect was, you could have some heart issues or pneumonia or something like that. And I thought, okay, but the doctor will always outweigh your situation and deem it, whether it's better for you versus the risk that are involved. And so, and so I would pray over it and all that stuff, but I don't like medicine. And so I would take the little shot, the injection, and inject it in my belly and here, there. And I was fine. I didn't feel anything. But I noticed, you know, besides the weight gain, I also noticed, because, you know, you kind of know your body. I knew something wasn't quite right when it came to my breathing. And so when I went to the gynecologist, I mentioned that, and he was like, well, you know, we'll see, watch, whatever. Well, in December of 2015, then I could not breathe. I couldn't lay down. I couldn't sit up. I could not eat or anything. And I got to the point, Derek was at work, and I called him and said, you need to pray because I'm having trouble breathing. And I know what that's like because when I was younger, I had asthma and God healed me of asthma, but this was worse. I couldn't intake a breath and I couldn't outtake a breath. You ever had, like you've had a catch or something and like it wants to crack or something? Well, it was worse than that. It was such a striking pain on my left side. And he says, well, hold on, let me call 911. 911 gets on the line. Derek's on the line. He's on his way home again. And she calls the paramedics. She says, can you make it to the door? Now, by this time, we had moved into another new home. It was an upgraded home. And I had chosen the option of this beautiful front door. Okay. Beautiful, beautiful front door. It was a speakeasy door. And this particular door, it was expensive. Nice heavy wood mahogany door with the, you know, the peekaboo, if you want to call it that, or it's called the speakeasy, but you can see, you know, and speak to the person before just opening up the whole door. You can just open up that one little window, like on a cuckoo clock or something. You open that up. And she said, are you able to make it to the door? And I was like, I don't know that I'm able to make it there, that I can walk there and get there. And she says, well, if you can't, it's okay. Then I'll also have the fire department come and they'll have to, you know, break the door down. And I said, wait, run that by me again. They'll have to break your door down. I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna try and make it. I don't want them messing up my door. And the other funny part in it, I told you, I'm always trying to find the joy in something, because a merry heart does good like medicine, right? So I believe that. And so I says, okay. So I had been wearing these compression hoses. And compression hoses, they keep the swelling down, you know, they restrict. And because I had gotten stuck in the shower, this just gets better and better. I got stuck in the shower. Okay, I'm pregnant. I got stuck in the shower and I could not bend or move. And when I finally got out, you know, kind of just walking like this, because you got to move really slow. I couldn't bend my feet, ankles, everything was just swollen and hurting so bad. My joints and my ring was stuck on my finger. I couldn't get it off. It was so swollen. And I remember, you know, one time it was so bad, and this is why I got the compression hoses, pantyhose, you know, but it was so bad, I got stuck sitting in the bathroom, and I called my mom. I'm like, I'm stuck, I can't get up. And I'm laughing, and I'm stuck. I'm like, you got any ideas on what I can do? I can't get up. And so that's when, you know, Miss Patience was like, we're going to get you a walker. I was like, thank you. And then, you know, I got the compression hose, you know, and they were the type where it had the, what do you call it? The rubber band kind of, you know, sticky feel. So on the inside, so that it can hold and stick to your thigh, which I didn't have, you know. Anyways, it holds to your thigh. And so when the lady on 911 said, can you make it to the door, and told me they were going to come in with that thing and, you know, knock your door down, I was like, I think I can make it. Well, I started trying to make my way to the door, and the hose just fell down. And by the time I made it to the door, then the paramedics were there and the hose were down at my ankles. was just so funny because I had on my dress, and the holes were at my ankles, and I was just like, oh my gosh. And if any of you know me, growing up, you would not find me with a rag on my head, well, except when I pretended like my robe was my hair. And my dad was saying, take that rag off your head. But I wouldn't open up the front door or, oh, we got company. I'd rip that stuff off my head and, be dressed up and all that stuff. Always dressed, always clean, because you never know when you gotta go to the hospital. So I was ready, except for them compression hose fell down to my ankles. So, that was that. And then I was like, okay, I succumb. I need some help. I need some, when I get to the hospital, I let them know I've been like this for a while, trying to do it on my own, and I got stuck and blah, blah. And I shared this at the hospital, and the nurse was like, you know what, we're going to talk to your doctor and get you some occupational therapy and get you some physical therapy, okay? And so I says, okay. And I got this mask on my face, which you guys may have seen. And my husband is there. He's always, was always there. I'm so grateful for him. Y'all got to meet him. We'll share our journey about how we met too. That's a blessing as well. And so I got this mask on doing the breathing treatments they're giving me. It turns out I had pneumonia in my left lung while I was 5 months pregnant. And they have me on these breathing treatments to help me out. And they can't lay me down. I'm like, wait, whoa. I can't lay down. I gotta sit up. I can't breathe if I lay down. I gotta sit up. So I ended up sitting and sleeping in the chair, the lazy boy that I didn't want. I ended up needing that in order to sleep. And that's how I would sleep, is sitting in that chair with my legs stretched out and a little bit reclined. And while I was pregnant the whole time. And because, you don't want, they told me, you don't want all the pressure on your back with the baby. So it was very well cushioned. And I wasn't able to recline anyway. So, and I would kind of lean on the side. It was just something. My cousin who came to help knows the situation too. It was kind of bad. But they have these breathing treatments they were giving me. And so while I'm there with the breathing treatment on, my husband's sitting next to me in his chair. And I start acting like, Darth Vader, Luke, And so I'm doing that. And so I'm sharing all this to share the light side of it. Because we already know how heavy it is when a loved one is sick or not feeling well or not doing well. And so you have to laugh. You have to remember to have joy in those moments. And when I was going through that, I noticed that when I would laugh, the pen tube, it would allow some of the fluid, I'll say, to, it would gush out some of the fluid as I would laugh. So I like clean comedy. I don't like the R-rated and all that, because I want my spirit to remain right. I just like to guard my spirit. So I would find Jesse Duplantis, what was it called? A Fit of Carnality. And boy, that's hilarious. So I would do that and watch that and watch good, clean comedy and, Christian comedy and just fun things without all of the language and all that, just keeping my spirit, taking care of my spirit, just like you take care of your physical body. And that's what I was doing. I have the word, I have my laughter, and then funny things happen like what I was sharing with y'all, and I would laugh, and then I couldn't laugh too much because it would hurt. But I did go through that. And by the time I got to my doctor again, the gynecologist, doctor, then he stopped the medications, the injections that I was taking, the steroid injections I was taking, which was a blessing, and I didn't need them anymore. He was like, yeah, let's just stop that. And when Simeon was born, he was actually born, he was breached. And I didn't know that. And the doctor didn't know that. They were like, this baby has flipped. And when they opened me up, it was a C-section. The first thing the doctor said was, feet. Oh my gosh, feet. And there were his toes, you know? And so I asked the doctor, you know, were there any fibroids? He said, no, they were all gone. Remember when I had the surgery and they had to stop with the surgery? And it was because, you know, I was bleeding out and they didn't get them all. Well, I began to go back to what I knew concerning eating and what God had shown me, the 3 things to do as well. And those fibroids, they were gone. They were gone. And I had no issues. And remember that purple blood, the old blood was pushed out. It was all that old stuff. And I had been speaking to my womb to line up all that time. And it did. And so it was such a blessing. So I share that to hopefully, you know, show that your faith, that word, your talk with God, talk to him, and then listen for his answer. Listen for his response. And you can always go back and listen to that one that I talked about, a guaranteed answer to prayer, if you'd like. And I share, you know, the depths of my prayer walk with God as well. So, you know, getting back to a little bit of the physical therapy, I can remember trying to walk and take those walks and all. And the first time I was able to take a step on my own, you guys may have seen in the trailer video, I was in a blue and white summer dress and had my hair wrapped in pink with a pink wrap, and my arms are up, you know, like that, which they looked really long because they were so thin. But that was the first time that I took a step on my own. And I was so happy about that because I was taking steps forward in the right direction. And God has shown me in a dream, you know, concerning that, the first thing that would happen would be my feet. And then it would be my knees. And then the last thing to happen would be my hands. So this is the last thing that I'm in faith for, my hands. And so I thank God because my faith says it's already done. And so I act as though it's so. So I'll type and text, whatever I can do, you know, and whatever I can't do just yet, then I ask for help or figure out another way to do it. And, you know, when you go through the journey, it can be stressful. It can be something where you, in your mind, might want to give up. If you're a caregiver, I know that that's heavy and that's a lot as well. I watched my husband work his job full time, which, you know, the hours can be very strenuous and demanding as well. And I watched him come home and he would fix food. He would clean. He would take care of me, you know, and yet he could not be satisfied because of my situation as well. But he was faithful. And here I was praying for him for the best wife, thinking, okay, God, you know, this is it. But when God told me, no, you are that wife. He created me to be the best for him. And God made me the best for him. And I had been praying all that time, give him the best, let him enjoy his wife and all that. And he tells me all the time, you're the best. I ask God for the best and you are that. So if you didn't get anything else out of this, just in this journey, when you're going through the process, the therapy, the medications, the setbacks, the thoughts of wanting to give up or feeling like a burden. You know, there were times I felt that way too. When you have these emotions that you go through or these feelings that you go through, it's on you whether or not you will live in faith or die in faith. So be encouraged. If you didn't hear the little synopsis on that, live by faith or die by faith, then you can go definitely to the healing testimony back from the dead, because that's what my family, I remember some of my extended family saying, girl, I heard you've been back from the dead. Look at you. You got everything back. But my husband would speak over me, and he would speak to my body parts. And God gave him exceeding abundantly above all he was able to ask or even think. And so God does satisfy our hearts with good things. He does want us to enjoy life and it more abundantly. So, and to the full and overflowing. All right. So y'all be blessed, be encouraged, and stay in faith. Bye-bye.